Applications Board is being conducted from the chamber and through the room 1 and through the Microsoft Teams platform. Can I remind you that the meeting has been live streamed and recorded. The recording will be made available on the Comhairle's website following the meeting. The first item is the minute of the meeting of 9th September 2021. That is for your approval.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 2 is declaration of interest. Members are asked to declare any interest they may have in any items on the agenda. It would be helpful if members explained why they are declaring an interest in the item concerned. No interest? Any amendment contrary to officer recommendations moved by a member must be based on planning reasons. If such an amendment is proposed, the chair may choose to adjourn the meeting pursuant to the time-out protocol. Members are reminded that a decision which is not based on legitimate planning reasons would leave the Comhairle exposed to the risk of legal challenge and potentially significant costs arising therefrom. Item 3 is the footpath project. This is phase 2 of the Stanish Headland Track, Stanish Isle of Lewis. And Morak Ferguson will take us through this planning application. Morak.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll just take members to the presentation. Okay, members, this is a planning application to upgrade sections of an existing footpath and to construct new sections of footpath on an adjusted route. It also involves the installation of information boards and the installation of some benches and a wildlife observatory constructed of timber. The path is located around the Stanish headland. The site is located between the croft, between the coast and the crofting township of Stanish, which you can see in the centre of the plan there. The existing footpath or footway is an established trodden but an informal route that follows the coast and runs along the tidal canal. The proposed footpath would replace this on a broadly similar line around the coast, but in some sections it would be rerouted onto land nominally above mean high water springs. A first phase of the footpath was completed earlier this year, and the current application is the second phase of an intended longer route that would link into other paths. It's an aerial view of the same area which you saw in the previous map. There you can see again, like the village, you can see the crofts running down to the end of the headland, and the saltings, the Tong saltings, SSSI, to the north and east of that image. A number of detailed objections were received in relation to the development. Some were related to procedural and legal concerns. For example, having secured the rights from crofters to undertake the works. I would advise members that these are matters for the developer to negotiate out with the planning system. The planning system is concerned with the use of the land. The legal right to use the land is a separate matter. There were very detailed objections in relation to the potential impact on the site of special scientific interest, on the habitat and on the birds that feed on that habitat. There were other concerns related to the principle of the proposal, its impact on the character of the Shanish village, its wider environmental impact, the impact on croft land and the ability of crofters to use that land both for rearing stock, principally for lambing, and for cropping, impact on the grazings, the effect on neighbour residential amenity, and also concerns regarding transport and parking and the safety implications of the path. The main objections were received from 3 parties. Party here concerned about the impact of the path on residential amenity given the proximity to their home. At this stage, the land is on which the path will be constructed is very narrow. It will be between the croft fence and the canal, but it will be fenced off from this proprietor's property. Croft tenant here concerned about both the impact on their own croft, but also on a number of these other crofts in this area, which they use for both grazing and lambing on a grazing sled basis. And concerns here on a range of matters, but principally made concern in relation to the impact of the development on the site of special scientific interest, the feeding habitat, and on the various bird species that feed on that habitat and live on that habitat. Also concerns regarding impact on the character of the village and on parking. The site itself is immediately adjacent to, but is out with the Tom Saltings SSSI. The path would be constructed in phases. The side plan shows the extent of the individual proposed sections. It's quite a lot of detail on it and maybe not that easy to read, but largely this section here would be the first section, and that section of path already exists. Section 2 would be here, and again the path is fairly well formed. Section 3 is quite a long section around the headland, and at the moment that section of path is wholly on the saltings. It will be brought back up from the saltings onto the grassland above. Section 4 is the section which would be brought into the crofts. So a new fence would be created at the end of the crofts, and a gate would be created at the end of each of these crofts. And then section 5 is the last section, which is the narrow section, which runs along the canal. Again, the intention is that it would be out with the existing fence line. The next few slides just detail the construction details of each of these sections of path. So this first section follows it's an existing croft access, public footpath along the shore. The new footpath will be constructed on the grassland just above that. It also shows that the site boundaries is about a 2.5 metre corridor, and within that the path itself would have 1.5 metre wide footpath, and there would also be some grassed verges. This next section, again, the path, this would be the existing footpath would be upgraded. There would be local widening here and here to accommodate benches. Third section is the section which is currently fairly undefined because it goes along the saltings. This section would be brought inland, just below the existing fence line. And again, there would be areas of widening to accommodate benches. And then at this far end of the section 3, there would be a deck as an observatory for viewing the wildlife on saltings. Section 4 is the section that would come inland onto the crofts. So each of these is a croft. So you can see croft 6, 7A, 7B, and each croft would have a gate, a new gate at the end, and there would be a new fence constructed along that line in order to ensure that both pedestrians and people walking dogs would be out with croft fence lines. And then section 5 is the last section. This section moves to out with the existing fence line again on the grassland. Quite a narrow piece of ground to construct on. This is the canal running along here. The intention is that the path would be outside the existing fence line, between it and the canal, and come in to join with the road. There's now a series of photographs. Sorry, these are just the construction details. So the path itself, largely founded on a peat base, where there would be a fabric layer like of terram, and then there would be an area of build-up above that, and then a dressing of scalpings on the top. Verges would be then dressed off. There's also one section where there is like a bridge section that would be of reclaimed greenheart timber, and then at the bottom just another cross section of the bridge. And just another slide, just again showing the details of section 5. Section beside the canal. So that section would be 1.5 meters wide, and it would be scraped, a small build-up material on it. Then this slide is the slide that shows the extent of the Tong salting site of special scientific interest. And you can see that the airport is here just beyond the village of Straneish, and the path is intended to go around this headland and come back inland along the canal to join with the road and the other footpaths. It's now a series of photographs. So this is the first section. This is the existing pathway that is shown on the earlier section. And so the path here would follow along the coast here, be raised above mean high water springs. Again, this is you transitioning. This is also section 1 where the path would be above, brought above mean high water springs. This is again part of section 1 where the path is fairly well formed. Then as you go into section 2, the path here is very much just a trodden footpath along the grass, and here the footpath would be formalised in this area of grassland. Again, like you can see, like trodden path here, and again the path would come above onto the grass here and be raised above mean high water springs. Section 3 is where the path is currently more informal. It's down on the saltings itself. This area will at times be covered by the tide, and the intention here is to bring the path inland above the fence line that you see on the right hand side of that image. The path will be built up here so that it's above mean high water springs. Again, that's just informal. And then this is the kind of end of the section 3. And at this point where you transition into section 4, the path would move onto the higher ground where you see the gates going into the crofts. So this is the kind of transition again between sections 3 and section 4. So at section 4, path would move into the bottom of the crofts here. That would be required to be subject to a separate agreement with the crofters. This is a long view towards section 5. Section 5 is the section that runs along the canal, and the canal basically runs behind those trees along here. This residential occupier has expressed concerns due impact on their residential amenity arising from the proximity of the path to their home. The path would be out with the current fence line, but it would be on a narrow strip between the fence line and the canal. This here is the canal, and this is illustrative of the narrow strip on which the path would be formed. This is the existing fence line, and currently there are gates between some of the crofts and the area out with. It's just an aerial image. Again, like you can see here, the canal coming through. Path would run along here, just on the edge of the canal, beside the fence line. The final slide shows the croft tenant resides here. Concerns regarding both this croft and impacts of pedestrians and dogs on use of croft fatigue. And then the other residential proprietors based objections not on so much on amenity but on the wider issues to do with impact on natural heritage and on character of the village, parking, etc. These issues are all addressed in the report. Just note the presentation and just take members briefly through the report.
Thanks, Maura.
Okay, so recommendations for approval. Some further representations were received yesterday evening. That representation has been considered, and there is criticism of the objectivity of the report, but the concerns raised by those submitting representations have been clearly set out within the report and they're reproduced in full in Appendix 5. The issues and concerns raised within the email largely repeat the concerns that have been previously raised and have been addressed. While we appreciate that those making representations may disagree with the conclusion that has been reached, including the extent to which the impact on birds has been considered, the basis for representation, the assessment is set out clearly in the report. Due weight has been placed on the specialist advice that we have obtained from Nature Scott, who are our advisors on matters of natural heritage concern, and the recommendation is set out in the report, and the late representation we've received does not materially alter the recommendation. Conditions are set out in Appendix 1. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Maura. Members? Any questions for Maura? No questions? Callum? Councillor McMillan?
Thank you, Chairman. I was wondering, thank you for the report and the content of it. I agree with the recommendation, and I wondered if those who go shooting duck and geese on the Stanish saltings have been consulted, because I'm sure that they would approve of what is an improvement in the safety aspect of going to these places in the very early mornings before light, so that there is a walkable path. And what is set out as an observatory area, had they considered that being suitable for shooting butts for the control of geese particularly? It's something that when we see all the objections, had there been any representation from the shooting club or the people who have the shooting rights on the foreshore in this area, because I see this as a great improvement in the safety of those people who do the control of geese and other vermin. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Callum. Warwick, do you have any response to that? Callum?
No, nothing to add, Chair.
Okay, the recommendations for 3.1 is for approval. Agreed. Thank you very much. The next item is Marybank Quarry, extend the mineral workings through a deepening of the quarry floor. Again, Warwick will take us through this presentation. Warwick?
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'll just get this. Sorry, Chair, I think I just need to close this down.
Okay.
Seems to have frozen. Okay, I'll just need to close that window and just reopen it. Just bear with me. Okay. That should have come up now.
That's it.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So this is a planning application which is classed as a major development on account of the scale of the mineral working. And it's to extend the quarry at Marybank through a deepening of the quarry floor. Quarry is located at Marybank, just on the outskirts of Stornoway. You can see the extent of the boundaries of the quarry outlined in red here. This is just on the edge of the castle grounds. The road leaving Stornoway to head to Lochs and Harris skirts the site. The slide is an aerial view, and it's just an indication of the actual size of the quarry, just to give members a sense of the scale of the quarry. So you can see that the quarry is in the centre of the slide here, and if you compare it in terms of area, it's very similar to the whole of the area of the Stornoway Harbour. So it just gives you a sense of how big the quarry is. The quarry itself is not terribly visible from viewpoints from the main road. From the Lewis War Memorial, you can see when you're at elevation, you can actually see some of it, but largely the views are from the edge of the quarry, from this edge of the quarry, from within the castle grounds, where it is fenced off for safety reasons. So the proposed works are in 3 phases. So the application proposes that phase 1 of deepening would first of all take place in the north end of the quarry here. So they would go down a level and create like a bench to work from. The next phase would take the deepening here, and then eventually the third phase, which is some years off, would extend that along the whole of this area outlined in blue. This is just like an aerial of the quarry itself. You can see like the Stornoway to Lochs Road skirting by here. And the buildings within the quarry are all in this area, and some on the kind of higher grounds here. It's very well screened from the road. And then inside the quarry itself, you can see some of the stockpiles of material. So I should have said, like, all the photographs have been taken from this location here, just on the edge of the fence inside, just on the edge. So this is a view into the quarry floor looking north. There you can see the stockpiles of material that have already been quarried and processed. And on the far side, you can see like the benches where the quarry has been deepened over time. It's another view facing northwest over the quarry floor. The workbenches that have already been worked are more evident there. Processing plant on the floor of the quarry. Some further views facing west. And again, you can see benches where they've been worked. Size of the plant gives you an idea just of the scale of working. And then there's a view facing southwest over the quarry floor. You can see the tar plant just over to the left. Then some of the buildings in the quarry floor over to the north along with the tar plant there again. So if I just take members briefly through the report. As I said, the application is classed as a major development under the hierarchy of developments on account of the scale of the quarry. The site area for the development is 6.1 hectares. Access parking, water management system, and all other auxiliary buildings are already in place. To the north, south and east, the site is bounded by the Stornoway Trust land, part of the Lewis Castle and Lady Park designed landscape, and to the west, it's bounded by the road. There were no representations received from either consultees or from any third party. The call is required to determine the application in accordance with the provision of the development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. The assessment concluded that the development is in accordance with the key strategic policies of the plan. Material considerations have been given due consideration, and recommendation is made that the planning application be approved subject to conditions to mitigate the environmental impacts of the mineral working. Those conditions are set out in Appendix 1 to the report. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Morag. Members? Colin McMillan, you could your hand up. No, sorry.
It's just the cursor.
Recommendations are 3.1. You agree with recommendations? Okay.
Just to clarify, Chair, that'd be a recommendation from the planning board to forego, since I made judge of it.
That's right. And it'll come up to tomorrow night at the full council. Thank you very much. Thank you for all attending, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.